So for Charlie, I just want to hold on to that.
Yeah.
As long as I Order at 7:09 p.m. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting dated November 14th? Yes. Are there any changes to those minutes or questions or comments? No. If not, could I have a motion to approve minutes? I'll make a motion to approve the Nahant Public School School Committee meeting minutes from 11/14/23. Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Madam Chair, would you like me to acknowledge the visitors?
Please, since I cannot see that far away.
On the call tonight, we have Chris Lamoth, Britt Rusine, Heidi Fiore, Kim, perhaps Kim Koselecki, I'm not sure, Melissa Luciano, Nancy Caggiano, and Rob Lebo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I know that some of you are very anxious to talk about next year's sixth grade placement. So we're going to open it up right now to community input and correspondence. And with a reminder of that, it's a meeting in public and it is it's your comments. And when you comment, you say your name, your street address, and make a statement about whatever it is you wish to inform the community about. Okay, so I'll open it up. Would anyone like to make a comment?
I would, please.
If you could please state your name and your address.
Are you able to hear me properly?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Kim Koselecki, 107 Fox Hill Road. Bear with me, I have a slight cold, so my voice is hoarse. But thank you for hearing all of us. I just wanted to speak briefly, obviously, about next year. I do have the one daughter in the class, in the grade, and developmentally, this has impacted her so much over the past 2 years. She's developed anxiety, which she's been going to the doctor for, being the only girl, but also all of the boys only having one girl. And now they're going to have to go into a school that, I might be dating myself, but when I went to Swampscott, there were 160 in my grade. And I just very much hope that we can send these kids over there, as I think it's the best thing for them. And we did do the same thing for almost the same exact scenario last year, minus one child, for their well-being. And if it's about their well-being, I think that we should be sending them this coming year as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you guys.
Of course. Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone?
It's hard to know what to say because I'm not really sure what to react to or what to. I can't ask a question.
Your name and your address.
Oh, apologies. Yeah, Chris Lamoth, 3 Highland Road. Emmett's dad. So I know I'm really glad that there's an opportunity to have input. I just need input before I can give input. So, like, is there a plan or is there not? Like, are we meant to come and show our support for a particular decision, or has a decision already been made? Or I'm sorry, I'm struggling with, I don't know what's happened since the last time we met, if anything, if any decisions have been made or any conversations have been had. So it's hard for me to really understand, and tune what I'm saying correctly.
I mean, I think we can share, we can't make any decisions outside of the public meeting. So any information that's been discussed, no, not only can we not make any decisions, but we can't discuss this outside of the actual public meeting. So all the information would have been shared during the school committee meeting. And that would have been the last time that was discussed.
And that was the last meeting, correct?
Correct. And I will say that no decisions have been made. This is an opportunity for everyone to express their thoughts. And then once we've received everyone's input, we're going to discuss in open session today the pros and the cons of sending the incoming sixth grade class to Swampscott or keeping those students here.
Okay. I think I'll just with that said, thank you for a little bit of background. I share Kim's point of view, and I think, I'll just say that I think Emmett is excited to start to meet other people in a bigger classroom, and I've heard great things from last year's class that went over, and I feel like I want that same opportunity for Emmett, because the situation is pretty similar with his size class. And then for Reed, I'm happy for him as long as he's in fourth grade now. So third grade, sorry. So he's got a few more years, and I hope he stays all the way through sixth grade there. But I hope, assuming the classes remain the right size. So that's it. I support this. I support going to Swampscott if possible.
So much. Does anyone else want to speak? And I'm sorry, the screen's so far away, I can't tell if anyone's raising their hand. Okay. If that's everybody, then I am going to close it.
I have community correspondence.
Oh, you do? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Outside of, we can talk about things outside of this current.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, any community correspondence.
Yeah, I thought it'd be appropriate because it was somewhat sort of informal community correspondence. There's been a lot of communication in regards to the middle school bus. And initially it was informally, as a parent, I was engaged in the conversation, but then I do feel like I put on my school committee hat in the conversation as well. And so I just wanted to share that information that was shared with me, that particularly on the early dismissals, but even on regular days, there's been a lot of inconsistency with the bus this year. And I said it today, that today again, the bus was late. On the early dismissal day, I know that the instructions that they're supposed to give is to go to the school, and the doors were locked. Like, the kids didn't know if the bus was coming and the doors were locked, so they couldn't even talk to the administration. on that particular day. I can get exact details of it if you'd like that. But it just seems like a pretty dramatic change from last year when I feel like there was no, I'm the only one that had a mouse go last year. I feel like there was no problems with the bus company last year, or at least if there was, I didn't know about it. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that. And I know that a lot of the coordination happens through the middle school, so I don't know where the line is drawn, what's under us and what's under them, but
like today it arrived at 2:58.
which is 18 minutes late.
Yeah.
But like,
I think it's more panic. I think it's more of a panic too, because the kids like don't know what to do. I don't know that they're necessary. I can't speak for all of them. I don't know that it's necessarily a stressful situation, but it's becoming more like of a question, like, is it going to show up? The morning has been better, in my opinion. Now it's the pickup and the afternoon that's the issue.
yeah, I apologize. It wasn't an early dismissal day. On the 30th of November, there wasn't a bus still at 3:06.
Right.
And when they went to the doors, they were locked.
And I think that was the day that I actually messaged Tony.
Right.
But then today again, it didn't show up until at least 18 minutes later. It's so hard because obviously it's challenging. Like, I don't really know that the Swampscott staff would necessarily be aware of the change. And then it's like, how do we let the kids know if we do know ahead of time? It's just really frustrating. It's like, it just seems like it's still happening frequently, you know?
Thank you. Oh no, I mean, it's very good to look back. Tony, do we have any idea, you know, if there have been any changes over at the Hughes Bus Company?
There have been personnel changes, Madam Chair. I have spoken to the operations director, the new operations director. Every time I get a phone call or an email from a parent, I then follow up with an email to the principal of the middle school and the high school and Mr. Andrews, so that we're all on the same page. I have no idea what happened today. One time the bus was stuck behind a garbage truck and couldn't get by on a city road that literally did not have enough room. So the garbage truck had nowhere to go to let the bus go by because there was cars parked. And so the bus had to wait until the garbage truck got to the end of the street and could pull over in the middle of an intersection. Another time, a new bus driver misunderstood his or her instructions and went to the wrong place.
Gosh.
The third time, I don't have an explanation. I just got an apology. And I think that's about the number of times there were serious lateness. It's three. That's three too many. The bus company's on board. I don't know what else to say other than we all are aware of the labor issues that we're all having. And it may be connected to that, but I'll call again tomorrow. They have not dissuaded me from contacting them, nor deflected responsibility at all. You know, it's not a question that Mark and his staff are saying, well, that's the best we can do. Right. Every time I call, it's, you know, it's our fault. I apologize. You know, this is not the way we want to do business. And, but I'll follow up. I had no idea, for example, until you said something that it was late today. Jason has emailed me back when I contacted him and said that, yeah, they're supposed to come to the office. When it's late, I don't know what to do. And, you know, real late and the door's locked. I have no idea when the door gets locked, obviously.
Is there
there should be a way to buzz in like there is at our school.
There is, but it would almost be, I'm just thinking more about it. Like the thing that I could see as being a potential issue is one of the kids leaves to go inside the office. They get inside and the bus shows up. The other thing that I'm thinking is like, it would just be so nice. And I'm not necessarily saying that this has to be like an issue for Swampscott, but it would just be nice if the kids knew ahead of time. like at dismissal, the bus knows it's not gonna be here for 10 more minutes, and then they can wait inside the door. The winter, like,
And that's what I was thinking,
You know?
so is there any way that like Healy, if they know they're gonna be late, and things happen, I acknowledge that. Can they contact the school and just say?
Oh,
"Hey,
yes, sure, I
you
mean,
know,
that's,
we're gonna be
I don't
late,
think that's
let
an
the second
unreasonable
staff know."
expectation. My guess is, with the exception of once, they didn't know that the bus was gonna be late till the bus, but they could be in contact, so I mean, the bus driver should say, hey, I'm stuck behind something. Call and then call the office. What the office is gonna do about it, I
Yeah.
can't predict.
it just sort of seems like, obviously, we reach out to you because you're our guy, but then you sort of end up the middleman because you're
Of
not
course.
there. So, which is fine, but
Yeah.
in the moment, it's really not, because
That's right.
that's one more person to have to then contact another person when they're kind of waiting outside.
Yep.
Um,
I will contact the bus company. I'm gonna come in for a couple hours tomorrow to do our policy work. And I'll make sure that I call them and ask for that consideration, that they call the offices if they know they're gonna be late.
Yeah, because especially over the winter, I'm sure there'll be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Has anyone else received any community input? I have not. Okay, so let's open it up for discussion in terms of the placement for next year's incoming sixth grade for the 2024-2025 school year. I know we've requested a lot of information. I know we have a lot of information. It's been disseminated.
I think, you know, for me, I think there's maybe some, in my opinion, misconceptions about what happened last year in terms of why the kids were sent over and whatever anybody's personal reasons were for doing that. You know, it was past budget season. The plan was to merge the 5th and 6th grade, and I don't want to say as a committee, but my understanding of our decision was that we wanted more time for this development of mixing classes to be implemented before we did it for those 2 grades. And so with that, we had money available that we could send that grade over the Swampscott. If anybody wants to comment about what I just said, please do. But you know, and that's why the 5th grade didn't go over, because we just didn't have the money to send them off. 5th and 6th. You know, with this year, we have a substantial budget increase. We are going to still need a 6th grade teacher, whether or not it's next year or the years after, so that's an additional cost. I think the school has done a great job at, you know, mixing the children and the activities that they can. And according to Mrs. Colbus, you know, she thinks that they're doing really well with their small group. I know I can understand perspectives of wanting to send the kids over, but I just wanted to relay that it wasn't just for wellness. There was educational reasons and financial reasons why that decision.
Yeah, now, I mean, another piece of it was, you know, we were reaching the end of the year and there wasn't a cohesive plan for if the class of 5 stayed, what that would look like, how we would support their, you know, social and emotional growth. So it's been helpful to hear throughout the year from Mr. Andrews and from the staff how, you know, this has been supported through the classes, and I'm hopeful that people have tuned in to listen to that information. And I think some information will be shared tonight just about, you know, what has been done to broaden out social opportunities for the class, given the small class size, and I know they spend a lot of time with the fourth grade, which is a large class. The other thing I've thought about and just reflected upon is that, we sat in so many meetings, expressing that this is a one-year change and that, the school is still a K-6 school. And I can't tell you the number of times in the community that I've heard people, even outside of our, Nahant community, saying, oh, so the sixth graders are going to be coming to to Swampscott from here on out. And I do think that reverberates with the larger community. I don't know how highly that weighs in on my decision for next year, but there's a big piece of me that thinks about the long-term viability of this school and, and what it would mean to be K-5. I want to hear some of the, I want to go over some of the data that we have in front of us, because I have so many thoughts in my head, but, other things that I consider is, the amount of teachers that we need next year, and if this year's fifth grade class stays or goes, what that would mean for, teacher planning and, if we'd have to let a teacher go, or, if we hire a teacher next year to support the class, if then the following year we have to let a teacher go, because we have such a great staff at the Johnson School that I want to make sure to, keep this wonderful staff. So I want to hear information about that. And just, what is the potential impact to the school budget? Like, we talk about this class of 7, which will be a class of 8, most definitely, from my understanding the following year. But what, I think it's important to review the potential impact, because there are other students in the community that could need to go over to Swampscott and might take up on that opportunity if there are students that went somewhere else for elementary school but ultimately plan to rejoin for Swampscott Middle School or high school. And like Michelle referenced, when I listened into the meeting, we are potentially facing, as it is, without any further increases, like an 11% budget increase the way it is currently. And so, what corners are going to be cut to support this? And, I'm uncomfortable having this conversation because I feel like it sounds insensitive to, social and emotional growth. And I want, people to recognize that my kid is one of those, and I wish he wasn't in the class of 7. But there's just a lot to consider rather than just, this is what we want, prefer to happen.
I know it's not easy. So I'd like to go through some of the data too. I think it would be good.
Sure. Chair, would you like me to do it?
Sure.
Thank you. So the first packet in related to agenda item number 5, which is the 6th grade placement for 2024-25, is MCAS results. And I want to thank Mr. Andrews for putting this together for us. So what you see side by side are the middle school at Swampscott results with our Johnson Elementary School results. And the Johnson results are, in terms of raw score, a little bit better, somewhat better. Obviously, there are different grades. So you're comparing since it's all MCAS, I'm not going to say apples and oranges, but you're comparing one size or one genre of apple with another. And then the SGP is where the two schools really separate. The SGP is at the Johnson Elementary School is significantly higher.
Can you explain what the SGP is?
Sure, that's student growth percentage.
And for those that don't know what that
What that means is, that's a really good question. So I'll keep it very brief. It can get really complicated, but basically, if student A takes an MCAS test and scores a score, let's call it 100, just to make it simple, then all of the students in the state who scored 100 create a subgroup. Then when they take the next MCAS in the same subject, they're all compared to one another. And the SGP, or the student growth percentile, is where student A falls on an imaginary line compared to all the other students who got the same test in the previous MCAS.
So it's like establishing a baseline, right? For
Well,
students
it's not comparing all the kids in a grade, or all the kids in the school, or all the kids in the state with one another. It's comparing students who scored the same score the test before. Yep. So it's really a good way of looking at what the school is providing. And our SGP is in the mid-60s, and the middle school is in the 40s. So, so that's important. You know, I certainly recognize the importance as a veteran of 25 plus years in middle schools of the social and emotional, but the academic, of course, is equally important.
Can I ask, with the student growth percentile, could that though reflect that the Johnson School scored that much lower in the previous year, and so the growth had more room to go?
On a theoretical basis, that could be possible, except that's not what the data shows. The data shows our raw scores are higher. So our raw schools are higher and our growth is higher. And of course, it's probably related to a variety of things in terms of size, of intimacy, of the ability of our teachers to, as Mrs. Kovas said eloquently, is individualized and target instruction to individual students. We have our after-school academic programs now. So it's probably a variety of things. It's very difficult to pinpoint it. Obviously, our staff has turned over dramatically in the last 3 to 5 years. And, the students coming out of our education preparation programs and bachelor's degrees and master's degrees are more attuned to the standards-based education than teachers who were taught 20 years ago are. So we're blessed with a lot of very high quality teachers.
Can I ask a question? The percentages were for which year? Just 2023? Like
what you have in front of you is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I had read like 38% for Swampscott and 62% for us. Okay.
That's the growth.
For the year of 2023. Okay.
Because the MCAS start in the spring, and that's when these results are out.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's an annual set of tests.
Yeah.
In English language arts, math, and science. Okay. So I'm not going to bore you with Mrs. Kovas's letter, but I'll synthesize it. I've talked to her multiple times in preparation for this meeting, and Mrs. Kovas is looking forward to teaching the 6th grade with a class of 8. She's looking forward to it. She feels comfortable. She feels confident about their growth next year. She reports no issues whatsoever that I'm aware of. I'll defer to the principal, but I don't believe we've had a disciplinary issue in the current 5th grade this year.
None that I can think of. Absolutely not. I'll say that what she's done is really taken the group and made it into a really solid small group. Doesn't teach them as if they were 20 students, but as if they are 7, and next year 8. And when I go by the classroom, I'm just touched because, it makes me think of, Greece in 1000 BC AD, where you're all sitting together under a tree, and that's how the instruction is that tight, and they're comfortable with each other.
I think Madam Chair, members of the committee, one of the things that I read in this message that I felt was really reflective of the quality of what's going on with these students, that is that the 5th graders have developed a level of companionship with the 4th graders and really appreciate their inclusion. However, that at sometimes they choose not to be with them. They choose, and they have that flexibility, and Mrs. Covis is giving them that flexibility. And I think that's significant. So it's not, you have to do A, B, and C. It's A, B, and C are available to you. What would we like to do today? And sometimes they want to mix and blend and be in larger groups, and sometimes they don't. And that is particularly important, I think, for the one girl in the class who has the opportunity to be with girls who are only 1 grade younger. Now, as you could tell by my email, the finances of the issue are pretty complex, but let me see if I can simplify it. So for this year and the next 3 years, we will be paying for the current 6th graders at Swampscott Middle School. The school committee approved an agreement with the Swampscott School Committee that we will be paying a set amount, which is $16,897.70 for each of those 5 students. That number was frozen. Interestingly, we did lose 1 student, but we also gained a student.
So, okay.
So the number is still 5. And every October 1st, if we chose to, if we adjusted how many students, that number would change. Now we have the situation where for every student this year, it's frozen, obviously. This 7 through 12, we're paying in the big contract, so it doesn't matter because that's not number specific. So we've increased our budget by $21,122 per year this year and for the next 3 years. So the potential cost for the current 5th grade students is $141,265, which is the current year's per pupil times 1 with a 4.5% increase. So that's a little.
Can I ask about the 4.5%?
Out of the air.
Oh, okay. Because I was struggling with that because I had to take your email and I had to put it in my own spreadsheet to try and make heads or tails.
What I did is I went back and looked at the per pupil from Swampscott over the last few years, and it's been a roller coaster, but I wanted to make sure I covered it. I didn't want to say 2% and then it's a 4%.
One set amount because
that's right.
Based upon the prior year's population, minus the current 6th grade class, it would be 7 through 12 current population.
No, it's based on the most recent audited per pupil cost in Swampscott by the DESE. And I don't have the one it'll be based on yet. Okay. So I used last year's plus 4.5%, which I think will cover it.
Wait, so it's a very gray area because I was reading the memorandum that we had signed off on, and you can interpret it, and I'm not an attorney, that the same unit rate would apply for next year.
That's what I thought.
No, I don't think so.
There's no escalators.
I thought the escalator was the percentage that's in our contract for Swampscott. I thought it would be the set amount that we voted upon, plus, you know, whatever we pay an extra each year at our current contract.
Yeah, I read the contract very carefully. Now, I'm reading it from a very conservative viewpoint. Because I never want a school committee to be surprised with unforeseen costs. So the way I read the narrative is, it says that the cost per student will be the Swampscott most recent per pupil cost developed by the DESE. It doesn't say all the words I just used, but that's what it means. Then it gives a number, and the numbers for this year. I don't think they have guaranteed that number will be in place for the current 5th grade kids. Because it was made very clear to us, and I think you'll remember, that you're going to pay the per pupil cost and not one, I believe the phrase was, and not $1 less.
No, I understand that, but and I understand that the whole point of us negotiating the current 5th grade class as a potential option without having to go through the whole memorandum of agreement again, was that we knew what the cost would be. So I feel like this puts us in a really, you know, precarious situation where we don't know what the number is going to be.
But even if, let's just say it's the same number. If it's the 16,
Right, that's fair. That's fair. No, fair.
You know, it's, you know, $8,000 roughly minus. So Tony, correct me if my math and your math are different, but the way I interpreted everything and crunched my own numbers, what I saw as a minimum for sending the incoming 6th grade over would be $135,182 if nothing changed.
That's I rounded it and I got 135.
And then the max, you know, if the other potential students in other schools decided to enroll their children over at Swampscott, it would be $253,466. That's the potential maximum exposure using the same unit.
I agree.
Cost per pupil.
Yep. So what you just did, the two numbers, 135.2 and 252.5, only rounding up always, uses the $60,898 number, which is the one current.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm confident that when this goes before the Swampscott School Committee, if the per pupil is higher, they're not going to agree to the 16.
So are we going to pay potentially higher than 16,897 for the current? Like that bill, that amount is done. Like
that's done.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's not going to escalate for the next 2 years that we still owe it because we spread it out.
No,
That's correct.
Okay.
yeah, we just
Yeah,
deferred the cost.
The way we agreed with Swampscott is that money would be spread out, which is approximately $100,000. You know, it's 90 something over 4 years. So we're paying 3 payments this year, 3 payments next year, and the year after, and the year after, for a total of 12 payments of approximately $7,000. And the same thing would be true of the next year, this year's 5th graders going in the Swampscott in the 6th grade. The unknown quantity is we don't know how much the extra from 135 as a known quantity, or my number would be 142. That's a known. If you notice, the per pupil doesn't change the number that much because you're not talking about a huge difference. You know, Swampscott Public Schools is not going to have a 20% increase in their pupil cost. They couldn't run their school district. So that number, whether we go with the 16,989 or we go with the 17, which is this year's cost plus 4.5,
Yeah.
it's basically 140,000. That's not the variable that would be dramatic is if 5 more kids came back.
Right. Which is unlikely, but we have
I
to,
don't know.
yeah.
I know we're meeting with one family
Mhm.
who would have a 6th grader, right?
Two. Oh, 6. No. I think you're thinking of 2 4th graders.
Oh, 4th grader. Okay.
So they would be going into the fifth.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That was good. So, so this shows you the exposure and the cost, and so what I did was for you at the end of this document is I put them together. Because even though the current 6th grade would be not incurring costs next year, we're still paying it off. So that's where the 340,000 comes from. That's a potential cost for what is already in place and will potentially be in place if the current 5th graders go to Swampscott for 6th grade, and all of those 7 students who are in school somewhere else decide to go to the Swampscott Middle School, which is unlikely.
Yes, so what that translates to, if the decision is made to send incoming grade 6 over is between this year's current grade 6. At the minimum, it'd be $66,183 that would have to be paid over at each year for the next 3 years, and the maximum would be $147,855.
such a big
Each year. It is, because it's all dependent upon how many kids.
but recognizing that it is unlikely that every single year.
That's
It will probably,
I'd say being reasonable about it is if you said that the
1 or 2
maximum number of children that would be in the 6th grade next year, if they were at the middle school, is 11 or 12. I'd say that would be reasonable. That would mean 3 or 4 children whose parents would choose to send them to the middle school a year early rather than keep them where they are. I'd say, so then the number would be in the $90,000 range.
And how would we pay for that? Like, I don't mean that to
necessarily.
no, I don't really mean that to sound fresh or naive.
no.
Like I genuinely, because I think I feel like I'm like, so I don't know if you want to continue to go through the other data that we have and then talk more about it, but I feel like it's tough because I think I'm definitely weighing more towards sending them because of the small class. And I think the benefits of joining Swampscott earlier for the social benefits and that piece. I think academically here, I really don't see any complaints about that. But my concern is like, I don't want to sit here and say, well, we can just send them because I know that this is real money. I don't, so how would that work for us? Like,
So does it make sense to your point that we just look at the budget right now? Because that's also.
yeah,
it's a good time to start talking about I know that there are some tough times ahead with these costs. Do we need to take a motion to review out of what?
Yeah, I can make a motion to move 8A up to discuss right now.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, let's do it.
Okay, so, Madam Chair, I'll take the lead. So if you take the horizontally landscape budget, what I did to make it easy for the members of the school committee is I put the last 3 budgets next to the first draft that I presented to you in November. And then the last budget column on the right is what I'm presenting to you today. So, if you go to the second page, I'm not going to go all the ones that are the same, that unless you want me to. Anytime you see a number you want me to talk about it, just tell me. So if you go to the second page, the top number, that number has increased by $8,091 because I have recalculated the cost of our classroom teachers. So it went from 734.1 to 742.2. However,
I'm sorry, I lost it.
okay, second page, top number.
Oh, second page, thanks. Okay, I apologize, sorry. Thank you.
So it increased $8,091. There will be another recalculation of that in the next version of the budget as I fine tune the cost of teachers next year. For example, we have teachers who are moving from a master's to a master's 15. We have people going from a bachelor to, and then of course everybody's moving down. The cost of a teacher going from a 3rd-year teacher to a 4th-year teacher is basically 4.5% per year. Then if a teacher goes from, and by teacher I mean someone who's an educator who has a license with the ESE and is on the salary schedule. So that would include speech and language and counselor, all those people. The so they're getting a 3% increase to their COLA this year. Plus they move down 1, which is about 4.5. Then if they move finally and get more, you know, they move from a bachelor to a bachelor 15 or 15 to 30, there's another approximate $1,500, which is, again, I'm taking you a percentage on that because it depends, you know, where they are. If it's 1st-year teacher, $1,500 is a significantly higher percentage than if it's a 7th-year teacher. So I have not gotten down into the weeds on that one yet, but I will do it by next month. So where's the money coming from? Well, that $742,200 has in it a 6th-grade teacher.
Okay.
So if we were going to send the students to Swampscott in the 6th grade, we would have approximately $64,000 in that line item that I would reduce that line item and then move it to the Swampscott line.
Right.
So
but
that's
just to point out that that is more than double of what a 6th-grade teacher would cost.
Yeah, that's right. So that's 64,000 of the 135. Let's use the chair's number.
Right.
So there's a gap now of $71,000, which is approximately 1.7%. So in this budget, I've reduced the growth from, and let me go through that with you. Let's hold that number that you need $71,000 that we don't have in this budget. So what I did was, I have been in contact with the our special education attorney. I've been in contact with Swampscott special education department. I have had multiple conversations with our special education director. So if you go to the last page of the budget, there are two deductions from the last time you saw it. One is the Swampscott number, because I recalculated that and I realized that for some reason I had approximately $3,500 too much in there. If you want to know exactly, $3,588. So now it's exact. I think I did it. I think I rounded it up for the first budget, which is typically how I work. I round up and then I fine tune, because I always want the budget to go in one direction. As you see, version 1 to 2, 2 to 3, etc. And then I took out $156,395 because I believe one of our students who is in an out-of-district placement is going to be graduating in June. I'm 90% sure. The attorney believes so, Mary believes so, the team leader believes so, but I haven't gotten it in writing from Swampscott, because Swampscott High School would be the entity that produces the diploma. Interestingly enough, this student has never attended Swampscott High School, but that's where the diploma would come from. They were in a variety of very specialized places. So I'm still working on that. So this budget has a 7.6% increase, down from 11%. But we have $71,000 missing if you would send the 6th grade over, so it would pop back up to about 10.1, which in my opinion would necessitate me cutting somewhere. I don't know where yet, but obviously I would bring it to you for your decision.
What's the maximum percent, like with this? I mean, I just feel like we're in a time where there's so much inflation. Like what in this type of environment would be a reasonable amount to go to the FinCom with?
I have never gone to the FinCom in this community or in any other community with an increase in excess of 3.4%. That's the highest.
I know.
I don't think I can do that this year. I think we're talking 4.5 to 5.
And I think that.
And remember, we're adding a teacher, so that kind of mitigates it a little bit. If you took that teacher out, who's about 1.2% of the whole, we're close to that.
But we're adding a teacher if the 6th grade stays. If they go, we're not adding a teacher. And so
yeah, the following year you'll be adding a teacher.
yes, but with this current budget that we've
That's correct.
with the FinCom, it's either a teacher or the $71,000. That's the net, delta.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either a teacher for 62,
Yes.
whatever, or
No teacher and
teacher for
135. Now, remember though, the 135 can grow.
Right, no,
Right.
That's the low ball.
right,
That's
Yeah.
that's the known.
Yes.
So that could be 160. I mean, I don't know. Just don't know.
And
none of us can. You know, and
I think, sorry to interrupt you, because I
No,
want
please do.
to say, I had the same question as Juliana, I think, is, so regardless of what we decide here for the 6th grade class, the next year's 6th grade class, is where are we gonna get this money from for that we're requesting? Like you said, you never went to FinCom before with anything but a 4.5% max. So like, what are we talking about?
we would be talking about cutting, trimming, maybe cutting a staff member, not an educator, but a support staff member. We would be talking about postponing. I'll give you a concrete example. Every teacher has a computer on their desk right now that's a minimum of 8 years old, I believe, and we were talking about beginning the transition to a new set.
Was that budgeted in here?
It is, the beginning of it is. You know, not the whole thing. That would go, you know, that would be put off a year. You know, we would begin to replace 3 or 4 of them in the following year.
Can I ask a question about that? When would you go to, like, the time of the FinCom and when that was? Because I know our budget was typically discussion February, March, so. Is there, if you did that then, February, then it can breed potentially like a negotiation, or is it just like a hard no potentially if you ask for too much?
The process looks like this. And I've never experienced it here. Frankly, I've never experienced it anywhere because I try to avoid this. If the FinCom listens, they take it in. By law, you have the right to ask for anything you want. Your vote is what gets presented at town meeting. However, at town meeting, if you remember when we sat there and our budget was read, nobody said it. Yeah. This spring, if it's I'm going to make up a crazy number. If it's 15% increase, the FinCom would say we don't, you know, we unanimously rejected that number. Somebody would say, we want you to pull out that number from the omnibus bill. And then a vote would be taken. Then you would have the opportunity to either cut your number or go to a special meeting in the summer, which causes all kinds of angst and consternation. I would heartily recommend that you don't do that. Yeah. I would recommend that you rely on me to make the numbers work.
Yeah.
You know, in a small town like this particularly, you know, my experience is even in Dennis Yarmouth, which is 2 much larger communities, nothing is gained by having the town and the police and the fire and the Department of Public Works vying for the same dollars. Right. You know, so I'll do my best. Whatever you decide, I'll do my best to make it work. So that when we go to the FinCom, the number that we bring to them is recognizably the best that can be brought to them. The lowest responsible number is how I always say it.
So where you see us cutting costs is in support staff and technology.
Yeah, supplies. You know, I'm not saying I support any of this. You're going to have a new superintendent. I don't know how much you're going to offer that person for a salary. It could be a salary. Yeah. Obviously, I would tear through all of the reserves that we have to balance the budget, which, as you know, I'm already doing because of the extraordinary cost for a few of our unbudgeted special education students this year. So, but I would bring you a list. I'm not going to talk off the top of my head, but basically, I mean, there's lots of line items, but it all boils down to a handful of concepts. It's personnel, which is the most expensive thing on our budget by a huge percentage. It's supplies. Try to touch educational materials the least, but they're going to be touched. Services. The good news is we have that earmark grant of $50,000 this year, so I'm using that to do to improve some of the things we needed to improve, that would have come out of a regular budget over time. If I didn't have that $50,000, which I'll make a report on tonight. So that helps a little bit, so I can kind of steal a little bit of money from a couple of the service lines. We still have a little bit left over in our ESSER grants, or the tail end of our COVID-19 grants, the educational services grants.
But those are specifically earmarked.
They're earmarked, but we avoid costs because of them. For example, we have special education summer costs for year-round education, which I'm able to, when we have summer school, I'm able to charge those to the ESSER grant.
As opposed to in a normal year without the extra money, that would be budgeted in the regular.
That would be in a special education services line item, so I'll probably have a little bit of money to pay from there. See, what we've done is, it's not supplanting, and the reason it's not is because before COVID-19, we were doing a level of service for special education kids, which was, let's call it X. And because of COVID, and because I didn't want our special education kids to fall behind, I increased the summer services. So I'm able to pay, you know, that difference with ESSER money. And we have one more summer this summer coming. And it's all gone. Then if the parents want, the general education parents want summer school, there's one of two things has to happen. For the summer of 2025, the superintendent will have to build a number into the budget, or parents will have to pay. You know, one of the two, which, you know, I would, my own personal opinion is build it into the budget.
So we have statistics on the academics, no cost, and now the social well-being. Yeah, I mean, we've heard from a parent at the last meeting that did not speak tonight, that she also was hoping for her child to go. I don't know, you know, we have some other information here about people that were surveyed.
No, that included long-term planning.
Oh, okay. So I think it's, I don't know. I'm just thinking more about the social aspect of things, and what and I'm not saying that our decision should be made based on like only what the parents and the kids want. Of course, that's a big consideration. That's why we're here. We want to hear what they have to say, and we want to be reasonable and understanding. But I do think that weighs a lot. I think it's so I don't know where we're at with this, if we want to just decide if we're going to make a decision today.
I think we should. I mean,
so I would be like in favor of sending them. I think that the last thing I want is for a teacher to be cut. I am laughingly saying that James and the PTO might be able to help with supplies, which I know that's like not a joke, but I think in some of these ways we can try to make it work. Obviously, I don't know about some of these other pieces, and budgetary wise, what percent we would really be asking for. I mean, I know that's a couple months away, but I would really think that the kids would benefit from going in 6th grade, this small group. That's my, so I'm just going to come out and say that that's how I feel, based on all of the information that I've gathered.
And for those same reasons, you know, I'm not in favor of sending them. I'm in favor of investing in much that we have in our school and our students here, because we are a K-6 school. And I think, you know, the school has done a great job in getting those kids there, you know, having to have them in social groups whenever they're home, at their choice. You know, I take what Ms. Pope said very strongly. She's the classroom teacher. You know, I just don't know that we can spend extra money that we don't have Because of what people want. And I don't say that lightly, I say it because we have a lot of good facts in front of us to support their education. So I think we've talked about this all. So
I mean, we talk about it at every meeting.
Yeah.
In my head, it has nothing to do with me wanting it. I love this school. I'm, of course, like, you know, as towny as it can get. I mean, I'm in full support of all that, but I think that the long-term plan, I see the long-term planning as a community decision that we all are going to have a big part of. But I also see this as a small piece of that. And I think that I think it's a really tough decision. I mean, this is something that, like, you know, we've been talking about and trying to get as much information as we possibly can to make a decision that's best for the kids and best for the community and the school. But
yeah, it's a very good system. And I agree, but I think that I don't know that I know my mind isn't going to change from today to next meeting, and I feel like we need to give people answers.
Yeah,
so
no, I agree with you.
Whatever they want to choose for next year.
Yeah, I agree. Meaning, my opinion is the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like the fifth grade class to go to Swampscott. I would like it to be a feasible option, but I don't see this being a feasible option. I can't rationalize making a decision to even if it's just 8 students of what that means for our budget, and we logistically can't go to the town and ask for that much of an increase and what that could mean for the school. So although, you know, there's a big part of my heart that wants them to go over to Swampscott, I can't, as a school committee member, I can't vote no in that way. And so, and I agree, unless we think that financially we can look at numbers and make it logistically work, and in another month we could have new information about students whose, you know, support needs have changed, or there are some things, and I'm not saying that I think that we should try and whittle it down to 3.4% or whatever historically you are, but we're currently at 7.5, and we're looking at asking for 10 with this. Like, it's just I actually can't even wrap my mind around, even if we decide not to send them, what's going to happen to the school with the current budget. And so it's a double whammy, to be honest with you. And I can't as a responsible school committee vote that way.
Yeah, I'm really struggling too with this decision. I think that we have to look at, you know, what's good for the school as a whole. We're trying to build an infrastructure, and I'm really uncomfortable with the thought of having let support staff go, and also cutting supplies and other materials, computers that are being absorbed for to get up to speed with technology. I think we're really kind of behind the people there. And like Gina, I'm really concerned about the budget this year, and I think we have a very hard time with and asking for such a much when there's so many different competing needs in this community for resources. Academically, I think these kids are going phenomenal, and I think they'd actually thrive more so than they would getting the attention of one-on-one. My concern is from a social, emotional, especially for that one girl. So if there's anything that we could do to help her from now on, yeah. possible. But I'm for. It's here. Now we go to vote. Do we think the vote? We don't need to vote for the. Yeah. So the final decision is to not make any changes and plan for a sixth grade finish. And with that,
potentially. I mean, I know that at the last meeting I was at, we discussed that we don't know what's going to happen with the fourth grade class, and I'm sorry, what size would be the number of the fourth grade class. But something that came to my mind when looking at the budget is, you know, that's another situation where, you know, if so, I apologize. The third grade class that's going to be in the fourth grade next year. So we talked about this 2 meetings ago. I don't remember that it was discussed at last meeting, but there's you know, 26 students, and if a handful go, you know, it could potentially be combined into one class, which I know again is an unpopular decision. But if it means losing a paraprofessional to keep 2 classes of, I mean, I just think if there's 7 or 8 students that end up going somewhere else for the fourth grade, that would be a place that, you know, we could combine. Again, a full-time staff member is only a percentage, but obviously it's not a decision that we need to make now. We have to wait and see what the spring brings. But I remember that you said, you know, I don't remember if it was Mr. Andrews or Mr. Parentanzi, but you said, if we tell you to keep 2 classes regardless, you will do that. But I think that that's another example where we don't have enough information, and that's looking at.
Madam Chair, if I may, that's an outstanding point. The problem is we're gonna have to build the budget as if nobody's leaving. And by the time we know they're gonna leave, so this is actually a debate about budget versus actual, not about the budget. Because I can't sit here in February and say those 26 will be 22 and we can have 1 class.
Because those the charter school decisions aren't made that early.
No.
Is that what happens?
and
It's 27, by the way.
27.
27, yeah.
And if you're planning for a teacher, how, you know, in terms of time, I mean, because the budget's going to be the budget, right? So,
It's going to be a difficult spring for a variety of reasons, but this is just one piece of it. We have to budget as if we're going to have 27 students in the fourth grade. Hiring it is then the next issue. We can delay the hiring, but we don't want to delay it too long. So, you know, and once we make that hire, that's the decision. And so I'll bring that to you and I'll say, we're ready. We have the applicants ready. We have the interview team ready. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. And my gut is we're going to keep 2. That's my gut. Because the timeline of budget, hiring, and then knowing that the fourth grade is going to be smaller than we anticipated is such that it would be almost impossible to not hire and wait. That, and I'm going to be candid, especially since I'm not going to be here. Having the new superintendent walk in with a hole in the staff in July, that I would never do that to anybody. Nor, I just see all of you going, no.
oh God, no, it's not like throw this poor person like, no.
But what you're saying is that we have to post a position and hire another teacher before we would know. Not just that it would be, I understand that it would need to be built into the budget, but I think that there's an opportunity for line item changes that I don't remember the flexibility there, but if that's something that could be flexible upon if the class size was small enough, but the actual hiring of the teacher would have to happen before we know.
Yeah, and you know me, I'm always candid with you, always a straight shooter. we can hire somebody
Oh, yeah.
and then lay them off at some point.
Yeah, we don't want to.
No, let me
Let me
finish. I'm not saying, by the way, I've never, ever done this in all of my quarter of a century of superintendency. But you hire people, you, in my opinion, you owe them something, but legally, now, you pay unemployment, which I abhor. I will find the money somewhere to pay somebody so I don't have to lay them off. Because then you give somebody money for nothing. I'd rather find money.
Yeah.
And get something, you know, get a return on unemployment. It's awful. And frankly, in today's world, people who resign are getting unemployment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably know that from the business world.
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be in the old days, you know, if you say somebody, if you used to say somebody was being let go because of poor performance, they wouldn't get unemployment. Now, everybody gets it.
No, we would
And
never want to do that.
And then we wouldn't want to do it anyway. That's right. Okay.
So we can move on to the examination and authorization of the photos. Mr. Karen Crosby, we have two fixes in our packet.
I know, because one is updated and one is accurate. I noticed that also.
The first one where.
The bill roll, there is the
So
correct
I have
copy.
Oh, so I did not give it to you. I just gave you too much.
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, thank you so much. And by the way, Madam Chair, before I start this, are we going to revisit the budget or?
No.
Okay. So, let me just say, to bring the budget discussion to a closure, you have the second version of the budget in front of you. It's a significant increase. It's a $350,000, $235,000 increase of 7.6%, down from 11.3. I hope I will have more information by next time. The next meeting in January. I should. I still don't have any revenue numbers from the state. I have no revenue. I'm going on a flatline revenue, which I typically do at this time of the year, but I did want you to know that I don't know if schools are going to get a revenue increase or not. It seems as if the state does have a healthy amount of revenue coming in, but I don't know what that means. The governor just spent a lot of money on very necessary social and emotional areas. So we'll see. But I'll bring the next version back to you, the first meeting in January. Okay? Okay. So, Madam Chair, with all respect, I would ask a member of the school committee to approve a expenditure of $98,406.93. After I explain, and I'm going to go fast. We have food. We have a lot of educational expenditures. They're from Amazon. We had our elevator examined and inspected. We have our extermination. We have electric and gas bills. We have a variety of costs from instant alarm. Some of these are annual costs. A couple of them are maintenance items that we had to do. We have educational programs from Follett and Wilson. The Parent Square annual bill is in here for $3,900. We have our phone bill. We purchased some health materials for the nurse's office. We also have the fence cost, that $11,225 will not be coming out of the general ledger. That will be coming out of the grant. Some things from the outside of the building, the Northeast Nursery, that's mulch. We have the American Plate and Auto Glass, $1,400. That's the new reception window. It was recommended by the NEMLEC team. You remember we had just plexiglass, and now it's 3/8 inch window glass. The Seaside, for our lunches, we have transportation costs, special education costs. There's we had an electrical work done, and working gear is our custodial clothing. Custodial contract costs for a certain amount of clothing per year. And then we have our big ones, the Healy Bus Company, which is $17,000. That's the monthly bill. And obviously, I would answer any questions you have about the bill.
There are no questions, but I have a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the bill roll in the amount of $98,406.97. Second that. All in favor? Aye.
Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to give you an update on the security and safety grant update. Being the frugal person I am, and right now the number of either contracted services or already performed services and payments is $48,327.85. And it's craziness. You have pictures. I have color ones if you want to pass these around, but I'm sure you've seen what we've done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And if you want to see them in color, I'll pass them around. Okay. Actually, you have them in color in your email. So the parking lot fencing is done, and we have seen a dramatic improvement in the movement of students since that fence is, and adults since that fence is up. And the bollards are in place. They have the reflective tape around them, so they're in front of the main entrance, in front of the Flash Road entrance, and they are isolating the crossing of the second fork at the fence road. You know, there used to be a rotary there, and so that's really doing very well. And that's actually you just approved the payment for the bollards and the fencing. Transaction window is in, as I said, in front of Sherry's desk, and that will, even though that's 3/8 inch glass and is very strong, that will get another film on it too. That'll get security film. So in case somebody does break it, it will hold up. Okay. We are going to purchase new flip charts for all the staff to have in their emergency kits. So the flip charts, you see them?
I think you've showed them. No, you have shown them before. Here's one, yeah.
So this is an instant way in case we have an emergency. You just go, let's pick an emergency. Let's say there's a, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Medical emergency. You flip up a medical emergency, and what you do as a staff member in the building is right there. So we're getting all new ones. This one looks good because it's in the middle. It's in this room, which isn't used that much. Mine looks like, you know, my dog got it. So we'll have all new ones.
They're also great training materials, I'll say.
Pardon?
They're also great for training. New
Yes,
staff, not just in an emergency, read this document, but also you have a document about how to take care of those things.
yeah. The video upgrade is contracted. As a matter of fact, I was in touch with the company today. They are, most of the materials are either on their way or in their plant, and that will happen soon. So we'll have 4 new cameras on the outside of the building, which will increase the coverage to make sure that the entire building has a camera and we can see it. We're also getting a new server, and they are going to work on the connectivity with the police department and fire department through the cloud. So everybody will be online. That's $10,000. We also will have contracted, I have contracted with a locksmith company, Secure Lock and Alarm. They will be replacing 2 of our 3 auto door closures because they're old. One was replaced last summer. And the Flash Road has 2 on it. It has the exterior door and the interior door. And the door 12 downstairs only has 1. The exterior door on Flash Road and the one downstairs, door 12, are going to be replaced. In addition, they are going to be working on all of the locks that have keys on the outside of the building, so that when someone puts a key in, opens the door, opens the lock, opens the door, takes their key out, the door automatically locks again. Right now, that doesn't happen. It works more like a bolt lock. So you put your key in, you unlock the door, you open the door, and then you have to lock it again. And for example, this very day, James told me that one of the doors, somebody put the key in at the end of school. So they're all going to be automatic now. That's $12,000. We already installed the magnetic latch covers. I believe you know what that means. Okay. And I got plug covers for all of the electrical outlets in all of the younger grades, so that that's a safety issue. So all of that comes through the $48,327.85, which we have paid to date $12,655.85, which means that you will see $35,672 of invoices in the future.
This is all from the funding.
100% from the $50,000. What Allison has decided, excuse me, the Director of Finance has decided is that we will pay the money out of our accounts, and then what we do is we petition the state for reimbursement. And it's really a little weird. They don't even see the invoices that we pay because you pay them. I just make out a form and say you paid it, and then send them the amount. As if and it's from us, the invoice is our invoice. So then they send the money to the town. And that's the way they wanted to run this, which is fine. Just a little different. So that's where we are.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any questions? Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll defer to the principal for his report.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent Parentozzi. Madam Chair, happy to present my report this evening. We had a wonderful bullying prevention program on December 6th by Massachusetts Partnership for Youth. And the students were engaged. We thought they were a really wonderful audience as well. And Corey, the presenter, was very complimentary of their behavior and their participation. So I thought it was a great overall positive. He tried out a new thing with us, which is a big banner. All the students signed a pledge at the end. And it's a ride. Students want to find their name every time they walk by it. And so they are reminded of it. And it's about being an upstander. And so the staff and the students all signed it at the end. I thought that was a great way to conclude the program. I was nervous. How are we going to get 150 kids to sign this thing real quick? And it went smoothly and they were great. So we do have wonderful students at the school that I'm proud of. Riley Edmonds concluded enrichment session 1. We've been running this program thanks to the direction of Superintendent Parentozzi and the counselor. Art, movement, it's been wonderful. It's similar to programs that are offered in other elementary schools in the area, notably the charter school. And I'm glad that we have it. And we're going to be starting it again in January. So there'll be new signups coming out. I'm also working with all the Nahant summer programs to coordinate what we're offering. We're looking forward to offering summer enrichment. What I've done this summer is expanded the number of weeks so that we have a Monday and a Friday where academic enrichment isn't happening, but you could do tennis, golf, sailing, and not miss out on the academic enrichment. So I'm partnering with the folks in town that run different programs and hoping to have one flyer that goes out. So far we have sailing, rec, island routes, of course, and us. I reached out to tennis and golf. Haven't heard back yet because for everybody around here it's kind of early, but for parents, this is the time to start shopping for programming for the summer. And so my goal is to have an announcement about what's being offered before winter break, and then have signups before about the 3rd week of January.
Nice.
So we'll open with your feedback.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
So
that's really great.
yeah, we want to line it up. We want to be your first choice, and you only want to be where the industry is. So that's what we're working on right now. And like I said, we have a single flyer that'll go out. We have our concerts coming up. Swampscott High School Band is going to be coming out for a daytime event for the students. We'll see our alumni play. We'll have an evening concert on the 21st at Town Hall. That's back again. And then on the 22nd, we'll have our K-2 concert at the school. And we also decided to add our band to that as well, so that everyone can appreciate the band and they have another opportunity to play. They've been sounding great, by the way. And we got 17 students in the band. A lot of them 4th graders, which is nice. I mean, they'll be here for several years. In the area of technology, the superintendent referenced our desktops. 75% of them are from 2012. They all look like that machine. 25% are from 2017. They all look identical, but we're finding that the rate that we can use them with is decreasing. They are becoming more slow as we try to use new software. So we're looking at replacement options. One idea we're looking at is a Mac Mini, and then using this computer as a screen and speakers and video. So we can still use that as a less expensive option. We're also looking at PCs and at Chromeboxes, which are like Chromebooks, but as a desktop. So all options on the table.
I imagine that you partner with the Nahant Education Foundation.
Yeah.
It came to my mind right now because they really focus on like STEM and technology.
Yeah.
I think it's generally STEM and technology for the students, whereas this is mostly for the faculty and staff. But I wonder if there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that this is as much as a classroom tool as it is a teacher tool, because every lesson starts with a projection. Yeah. And so it's not like it was 5 years ago. Kindergarten is putting their message on the board. They're showing a YouTube video to dance with. So this is absolutely a classroom tool. And NEF did in fact purchase our these 2012 machines some time ago. And they set up our lab originally. So I'd be happy to reach out to them again. My guess is that it would be a significant item. Yeah. And maybe a couple year process. Right. And they could ramp up though.
But I do think in terms of fundraising, if you know what you're fundraising for, that goes a long way.
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah. You have a target.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. We have put a modest amount in the budget for it, not to replace every machine in 1 year, but to gradually add over the years, because we have machines that aren't on teacher desks in the classroom that are doing other things. So that's underway. We're starting getting samples and in having discussions. In the meantime, I'll say thanks to Charles Lockwood. What he's doing is he's taking machines out of use, wiping them, giving them a clear install, and then getting good results. So we're able to, move along with what we have. So he's been really good about that. We had the School Brains Parent Portal open up, and I had 14 families that requested paper copies of the report card, and we were able to get those out to folks. We had some issues with, opening up after the first time, and the size of the school is nice because I can receive emails and really just reply back to folks as able. I don't have a deluge of people that are looking for help. And so I did have people on the weekend or at different times, connecting with me about what's my password. I would reset it. I sent the wrong link at one point. I was able to fix that. So I think it was pretty smooth based on feedback I got, but I know there's some users who still are looking to get access to that. So I'll send a reply out, and I got your reply out to you tonight, hopefully, Ms. Lane, to be able to get in. But if you're any example, you're really on top of it, smart, intelligent parent and engaged. And so if I'm not getting to you,
Not necessarily applies to technology.
okay, well, so I think it went well. I know it was really appreciated from the office standpoint and the teacher standpoint as well. Parent Square rollouts continuing. The new feature we added that we started using was the conference night signups. And I've been using the phone call aspect because it records the call, gives you a transcript, logs it, and all in one swoop. So I don't necessarily have to phone call and email to document. I can use the phone call as the document. In the area of curriculum and instruction and professional development, we're looking at January 12th. At the end of our last November 1st professional development session, we had a survey go out to all the teachers asking, what do you want next? And what worked well and what would you like more of? And so that's our guiding light on our January 12th date. They really liked hearing from Jerry, forgetting his last name at the minute, from Colin's writing program. And so we'll be focusing on that again. We'll be having Sarah LaCourciere, also Herbie and Reagan's mother. She's coming back for a reading. She works for the DESE now, and she's a literacy coach. Teachers really liked hearing from her on integrated literacy blocks. So a focus, and as you probably hear from across the state and country, really focus on literacy right now, and math as well. So that's our other big area that we're focusing on for this upcoming PD day. Teachers are also looking to have common planning time. And so we're scheduling that in again. So looking forward to having discussions and looking at writing during common planning time. Then I wanted to give you an update on our multi-grade planning. The way that the superintendent and I are looking at this right now is we want to build in professional development that will get us ready in the event that we have a multi-grade class in the future. And we said, geez, what are some ways of teaching that are going to support multi-grade classrooms? And I did a review of some of the documentation, some of the literature, found that differentiation is one area that multi-grade planning teachers really need support on. Universal design. This is where you design a lesson with multiple entry points. It's similar to differentiation, but you want to make sure that it's accessible to everyone, no matter your grade level. And then one area that the superintendent has experience with is project-based learning, thinking about offering a project and then tailoring it to that grade level. So these are three strategies that we're going to move forward with for professional development in order to, as I said, prepare for the potential situation where we have multi-grades in one classroom. One thing I thought that was interesting was that the research doesn't really show that it benefits students overall. They saw that there's maybe a slight benefit, but they also thought that principals are probably putting their best teachers in their multi-grade classes and also giving them a lot of professional development. And so they are seeing a slight improvement in outcomes for students in multi-grade classes, but they suspect it's the focus and other variables. They also noted that teachers did give feedback that it is challenging, and it's not going to be the same amount of work as when you have one grade level, if you have multiple. So that was interesting, and there is some good research out there. It was interesting to see that Mennonites often in rural communities are both two areas that use multi-grade classrooms often. And we are sometimes considered a rural community, being out here in the ocean with a small school, which is interesting to think about it that way. But a lot of commonalities with those, and so we'll take strategies that they found helpful if we need to move forward with that. But regardless, we have $10,000 in professional development money right now in our budget, and so we're looking to have teachers come over the summer and do some training around differentiation and UDL, which is good all the time, but will build into our staff more excellent skills of our fantastic faculty.
And that money is targeted by the DESE for professional development. I already tried to grab it.
There seems to be appetite on like a smaller scale. Like I know that we already do it with reading groups, but like smaller scale lessons, I applaud you in your efforts in really taking this seriously. But looking at our numbers, it's unlikely to be implemented on a large scale, like actually combining two classrooms. But there seems to be any interest in doing like combined class lessons of any sort, just to sort of like utilize those skills so you don't get rusty. And it might be a cool opportunity. And I'm not talking about like a whole year, I'm talking about like maybe a lesson.
So our service learning project, that's a great idea. I think, I have to say, I know that there is the spirit for that in the school. When I see the staff members together, I see that they're really collaborative, and we don't have big egos where we're trying to outshine each other or anything like that. So I do think that if the opportunity arose, folks be willing to do that. And I'm trying to think. I know for Veterans Day, that was another opportunity. The grades combined on a project.
Yes.
And they got together for singing, for poetry, just recitation, for artwork. So I do think that is an opportunity. And the other one is grade 1-2. They both have things about resources, about natural resources, and I'm encouraging them to go to Saugus Ironworks. And so they have an overlap in social studies. That could be another area. So I'm glad you mentioned it, and I'll be happy to share it with the faculty.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun for both students and teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
Madam Chair, if I may, the fascinating thing is we are looking at this as the potential for averting the need for rapid transformation in case it's ever necessary. That's how it begins.
Yeah.
But the reality is all three of these techniques of learning are good for all kids all the time, regardless of whether they're 1 grade or 10 grades, because if you'll hear, you're going to hear an echo of what I said to you before. If you only have 8 kids in front of you, let's say a small class, they're not all the same. Right. Differentiating in a group as small as 8 is necessary to maximize all of their potential. And the project-based learning is probably the #1 technique used in large urban schools to avoid post-vacation and pre-vacation turnoff. So, for example, when I was a middle school principal in an urban area in New York State, we always had project-based learning when kids came back from winter break. Because it's tough to crank it up again. And a very creative use of time. The interesting thing is standards-based education requires a lot more planning than in the old days. You know, because you have to make sure if you have a project in grade 3, it addresses the standards of grade 3. You can't, you know, you can't put 3, 4, and 5 together and do something.
Right.
It's gotta be globally a project, but it's gotta identify with the standards in every grade level for the student who's addressing it, or else that'll show up as a negative on their standardized testing. Now, I understand standardized testing for elementary kids is not the end all and the be all. We have a longer range goals, but you know, when parents look at our school, they go online and they look at the testing. So we have to be mindful of that.
Mr. Anderson, can I ask you one question? Is McGee gonna come back?
Is there an update? This is the service dog too.
Yeah.
Madam Chair. Superintendent Parentozzi, do you have any information about that? I have.
When you asked me last time, I saw the individual who's the coordinator, Riley, the next day, and she said yes.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
I've heard some requests.
Yeah,
Great.
I haven't heard anything, so I will contact her again.
Children. I have a question. I know, we have some funds for professional development. Are there any opportunities to work together with Swampscott?
There are. We've had, when we have our full days, I invite them to our programs. And we have had some response to that. The challenge of scheduling, the days, the same days. I usually get counselors who will come to our workshops. So I do reach out to their principals and ask, but they do have different schedule.
So I'm wondering, does it make sense to try and align in the future? In terms of professional development days with all the school districts.
Yeah.
It was interesting feedback that I received, and we'll talk about, I don't want to jump, the survey, but is, aligning both professional development opportunities and curricula between both school districts and I.
Sure, yeah, we could benefit from that, and more opportunities for more choices, I guess you could say. We could have workshops that a teacher might want to go to. They don't need it here, but maybe they could go there for that workshop. Yeah. And we can also use professional development money to probably cover for a substitute for a teacher on the day that they wanted to go to a PD day in Swampscott. That's another way to do it that I should look at. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
Great.
I'll do that.
So is there anything under the other?
Facilities. Now, I was thinking of what to tell you.
Okay.
We had a minor issue with one of the boilers, which was, believe it or not, 2 valves were in the wrong position, and that was easy to fix. And one day the heat didn't go off and was not on in the general main office, and that was again another easy fix. And we've been replacing some of the electrical outlets. Simply, some of the ground fault interrupters are old. 2007 was when everything was changed. So it's time. Other than that, it's in good shape. All that rain.
That's great.
Yeah. If I could add something, Superintendent Parentozzi,
Please do.
I didn't put in my update, but we've been working on the microforest out in front of the school, and this is about climate change. It's about providing space that you don't have to mow, and so Diana Brandy and the students and myself have been working on that, and it's I think it's been really nice. A lot of conifers. They'll provide some shade. It's front of the school gets really hot, and it's getting more warm every year. And so we're with that in mind, that's what that project is, and so that I thought fit in with facilities.
Absolutely, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
I saw it was recently mulched, and
yeah,
looks great. What's going to happen when those little tiny fir trees are 80 feet tall?
I know. We'll be in some shade then, won't we?
We might not be here, but
It's
at least I have a lot of carbon in.
And I don't have any, actually, I do have an update. Mr. Andrews gave you an update on the plan for upgrading our technology in the classroom, which he absolutely appropriately and correctly identified the teachers' computers as educational units. Because what they use them for is instruction, records, report cards, all the things that are related to education. So Mr. Andrews had this idea of perhaps not replacing them with a full new unit, because they're about $1,500 a piece. And anything cheaper would be quickly outdated or quickly, the memory would be full, etc. So we are purchasing a mini Mac, which will be a new, I mean, computer, remember the CPOs? They were like suitcases. Now they're this big. And so we are going to try to put this new mini Mac on one of the old computers and use the old computer just as a monitor. And the cost difference is about $1,000 per unit. So we're not sure it's going to work yet, but that was his idea. So I wanted to make sure you know about it.
It's also good for the environment, you know. I mean, geez, this thing looks like a beautiful machine. Yeah, you
Yeah.
say that you gotta junk this, you know. So we'll try it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to old business. So we've already covered the budget.
Yep.
Superintendent search update. Okay, I can give a brief update. So we had our first meeting of the superintendent search committee, which was great because Glenn from the Massachusetts Association of Schools, he was here. He was leading it. There's a total of 13 of us, including myself. I am the chair of that committee as well. So we have the advertisement was posted 30 days. It's been out there now for some time. We want to close the application process by the 21st of December, ideally. That of course is going to depend upon the number of applicants that apply. I know that there's been several conversations that are going on. There are applicants that I think will come in and don't worry, people tend to wait the last minute to get their applications in, so I'm like, okay. We will not meet as a committee until January. It doesn't make sense to do so, just because of the holidays and we just want the application process to close. And when we do meet in January, we'll start the whole review process. We've asked each of the committee members to draft some questions for interviews that we'll be putting together, that will be consolidated. And the survey went out. I have the results of the survey. Unfortunately, there weren't as many people that responded to the survey. I was hoping we'd get a little bit more feedback, but there is a lot of feedback in the survey. And I'm sorry because I can send it and it's not in the packet, so I'll send it to you guys.
Chris. I'm sorry.
No, don't be. I'll send it to everybody. So
No, I'll take care of that. If I have
See.
it, Madam Chair, I'll send it out if you want.
Yeah, no, I'll send it. But I'll just share like the highlights of, that I share that actually ended up in the news article. If you guys haven't seen it in the Daily, I know.
Yeah.
So the first question was, tell us about the strengths of the Nahant Public Schools and what are the attributes, programs, and services that are particularly important to cultivate or protect. So overwhelmingly, the responses were keeping the class sizes small. One individual actually said under 18 was best. That the interactions with the local community were very important. The Historical Society and taking advantage of Northeastern's Marine Science Center and all of the local Nahant field trips. A dedicated teaching staff, the importance of staff retention was a recurring theme. in regards to the areas or programs that we need to adapt and change or improve. And where should the next superintendent be focusing their attention on? Again, staff retention is huge, supporting teachers in classrooms, both academically and financially, improving upon the curriculum, stronger alignment with the Swampscott schools, and more collaboration with Swampscott, including professional development and curriculum. That's why I brought that up earlier. I think that's a great suggestion. What are the most important personal characteristics that the next superintendent should have? Overwhelmingly, connection to the families of Nahant, engaged in the community, a very strong leader, experience in the elementary school would be ideal, a successful transition to middle school, a commitment towards social emotional learning, a person that's obviously friendly and welcoming, that is going to work with parents and teachers, community leaders, and Swampscott, and obviously someone that loves children, and the ability and desire to coach. Another view. Are there any experiences or credentials that are important for your next superintendent to possess? Overwhelmingly, working with the fiscal budget, experience working in an educational setting, a superintendent who has strong leadership experience, working in a small town was really important. The ability to redevelop curriculums as student enrollments changed, came up, negotiation skills, experience in raising the level of academic aptitude in the school was a common theme. What would you like the next superintendent to know about Nahant and the Nahant Public Schools? Nahant is unique when it comes to the role of our superintendent because of our small size. That individual will be much more involved in day-to-day issues. So true. And that the school should be the best common. Last but not least, what else would you like to tell us that we have not asked? The importance of collaboration and teamwork and building positive relationships with staff and the community and other educational leaders. And someone that promotes that collaborative culture to foster a supportive environment for all the stakeholders. That was a key theme that just came out. And how can the school be more integrated with the overall community in Nahant was another one. And how could we tap into the resources that we have within this town? And how can the school give back to the community? Was another recurring. So it was a very interesting survey. It's great feedback. I wish we had more respondents, but how many people? 26. Oh wow. I think it is given the amount of time. You know, it was actively promoted. Yes. It was very good. So that is my update on the search committee. So us as a committee, we should most likely expect to start, we'll be receiving from the search committee recommendations for who we should be ideally by early February. And then we will be scheduling time to make those in. Exciting time, yeah, a sad time. Yeah.
I wonder it's following the timeline that we before that.
Thank you. Let's go. You guys should be fine. I'm like, all right, that should be fine. I'm like, this is my first foray into superintendents. So, that's my update. So the next item under old business is long range planning updates. Does anyone have anything on the long range planning?
The only thing included in our packet was the survey from the students.
I thought that was a fun, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
2 responses,
Oh, yeah.
which I sort of took that as like feedback in general for
Me
and
too.
for them.
More so for the 6th grade placement. Okay, so then why
That's
don't we
what I-
move on to
yeah.
policies?
Yeah.
Joy, let's do it.
So do we want to follow the same lovely format that you've done?
But back this year.
Farewell.
All right. Almost. Okay.
You've got
This
this
is-
down.
This is old business, so we're
Oh,
voting
this
on
is
the
old
second-
business.
Yeah.
So we have to make motions.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve English learner education file IHBEA 8D.
I'll make it, I'll take the second, sorry. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve homebound instruction file IHBF.
I'll second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve remote learning file IHBHE. BHE. IHBHE.
Should it be the
G.
learning? IHBG. Homeschooling, IHAG.
Oh, I'm looking at remote learning. Homeschooling is IHBG.
Oh, I had said remote learning, sorry, skipped one.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve homeschooling file IHBG.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve remote learning file IHBHE.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve instructional materials file IJ.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve library materials selection and adoption file IJL.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve reconsideration of instructional resources file IJR.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve field trips file IJOA.
Second. All in favor?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve student progress reports to parents, guardians file IKAB.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve teaching about controversial issues, controversial speakers file INB.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve animals in school
Yes.
file ING.
Second.
I need more caffeine. Did I read that? Hold on.
You want
Yeah.
Wait, did we second and did we say aye?
We did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, to
Service
service
animals.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve service animals in schools file IMGA.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And IMGA is it's new.
Yeah.
It says not in current. It's one.
Right.
Gosh, that was a little rusty compared to last time.
Yeah, in the current manual, those last two policies are one. And the recommendation from MASC is just to separate.
Okay, so moving on to new business, we have a lead and copper samples report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On September 6th, the Johnson School water was tested at various places. The kitchen and the hallway on the first floor, the nurse's office, and the second floor fountain. All of them were found considerably below any reporting level. And so, as has been the reality since I came here. So this will be on file for the health department.
Then moving on to the 2023 MCAS results, which we are.
Yeah, I put this in two places and didn't know how you were gonna handle it, Madam Chair, so you've already covered this.
Let's move on to the new, first reading of the new policy.
Okay. I could never do as good a job as some.
Not tonight, I'm a little off my game.
Okay, the first one is policy JB, equal educational opportunities. That is significantly the same, but the language is different. So it a paragraph has been removed, which I don't know why, but obviously the attorneys believe it should be removed. So I recommend that we approve the new version. next meeting. The next file is JC attendance areas. We don't have this one, and I don't think we need it.
Yeah, I agree.
The next file is JCA, assignment of students to schools. I don't believe we need this one either. This is not about special education or anything like that. We're out of district. This is about, you have multiple schools and students live in a catchment area for school A, and for a variety of reasons, you send them to another school.
Gotcha. Yeah. We'll need it.
Next one is JF, school admissions. I recommend the new one.
Okay.
It's updated. Next one is JFAB, admission of non-resident preschool students. This one, I have taken the liberty. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had a question on this one. I know this has become, you know, a topic of different discussions. And, you know, recently we allowed siblings to its non-resident siblings to attend the school for preschool. And so I didn't know if that was something that we wanted to put in our policy as an allowance, in addition to counting on our employees to use something that's that. It's very good point. Adding siblings of Nahant residents
In other school districts. Remember, there was a situation where we were told there was a possibility, which I don't believe the student actually joined. But it was a parent where the child was living in another town. And potentially the mother was concerned about how they were gonna have the kids be together, because I think the father was being departed, and so we agreed to it, but I don't know what happened. I don't think that children ended up coming, but we agreed to it.
And so we talked about having something in place for policy so that we weren't deciding things upon our own
Case by case basis, that there was a policy that was equitable.
Yes.
Yeah. So this doesn't include anybody except for Sarah Nahant employees. So I didn't know.
Doesn't say the time of the employees?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the new one.
Oh,
The new language.
Yeah, the new one says town of
Yes.
Nahant.
I know too that there was, you know, a request for, you know, a kind of Nahant resident caring for her grandchildren, wanted to put up a preschool. Okay, so, you know, there's been different situations where it's been allowed or denied, you know, and just looking into whatever our policy is.
The only thing that I'll just take into, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that these discussions that we had for special consideration were for the preschool, right, which is privately, it's, yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted that to be recognized, whereas a student being accepted into our school would be under our funding.
this is specifically for
Preschool, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Right. Yeah, I'm only talking
okay,
about.
okay.
Yes. No, you're right, Michelle. That's a good point.
So the general admissions policy, which is JF, covers your actions to allow children who don't reside to attend your schools in any grade, including preschool. We already did it.
Yeah.
So it would the paragraph is all children of school age who reside in town will be entitled to attend the Nahant Public Schools as will certain children who do not reside in the town but who are admitted under school committee policy relating to non-resident students or by specific action of the school committee.
But can I ask you what is school education?
A through.
To me, it means any age that you have a program.
Oh.
Let me give you an example. An 8th grader. Someone come to JS.
Well, I consider that a little bit different because we're a K through 6 school, and so I wouldn't
Preschool with school age. Okay.
So, you know, maybe add language of the school admission to say children of school age are eligible for school. You know,
Do you want a paragraph like that? Like the school admissions on the preschool too?
yeah, I think that would be best, yes,
Okay.
personally, but I don't wanna.
I think that the decisions that we make for preschool should be different than, the public preschool.
Right, I agree. And I agree
Yes.
with you, I just wanna make it clear.
Yeah, so that it's not case by case,
Right.
willy-nilly.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I have this. I'm not gonna change what's there. I'm gonna put another paragraph that says, in addition, certain children who do not reside in the town, but who are admitted under the school, by the school committee, by specific action of the school.
For preschool.
For preschool, yeah, right on the preschool. So I'll put another paragraph.
I think so, but I also don't really think that it gives, like, I guess under what circumstances wouldn't we admit somebody? You know, I'm just trying to make sure that, like, what are our guidelines, you know, for accepting somebody into the preschool program, just to make sure that that is considered good.
Yeah, I think you would not deny anyone unless there was overcrowding, we couldn't accommodate. Okay, that's the only time that we would say no. For preschool.
Right, yeah, and this is only talking about preschool.
So that's why it's confusing me a little, because I think students will meet the same birthday. Oh, okay, never mind.
Could I ask a clarifying question?
Sure, yes.
Madam Chair, through you. Do you want the decision-making of the school committee to be in policy, so you don't have to talk about it? I'm a little bit confused.
No,
Okay.
I think that paragraph is needed in there as well, because like I said, I don't think school age applies to preschool.
Okay.
But second, more importantly, I just wanted the decision of the admission of anybody to the preschool program was fair. Because like I think, you know, we had talked about before, somebody was denied, like they were a caregiver of their grandchildren, they were denied, and then, you know, then we get another thing. So it's like, well, what's our policy on that? You know, like why would it matter if we had space? Basically, because it's a big business. You know what I mean? Okay.
This is what I wrote. After number 8, another sentence that says, other students who do not reside in Nahant may be admitted by specific action of the school committee. No, I'm gonna start again. Other students who do not reside in Nahant may be admitted to the preschool program by specific action of the school committee if there is space.
Yes, and I feel like I also wanna add something about a residency affiliation. I like that word, affiliation. I like that word, and I like that too, because I think we're not just gonna open up to everybody. You're like, we don't know who you are.
I think like if their husband's there and is taking care of the child, that makes sense.
I mean, I think that puts the fair.
Couldn't talk your favorite.
I like that. Okay,
Very
ready?
much. I like it. I just, I feel that that's important.
No, that's good.
And protect them.
Okay, ready? Other students with a resident affiliation who do not reside in Nahant may be admitted to the preschool program by specific action of the school committee if there is space.
Yeah.
And then you'll have one more shot, because I'll send it to you, and if you don't like, if you want to change the grammar, please feel free to. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next one, JFBB, school choice.
Oh, yeah.
That's the current one. And there are two options. I recommend that you take JFBB-1 and replace JFBB with it. Because we have historically never admitted, and the new JFBB is written in the affirmative. It is the policy of district to admit. JFBB-1 is historically accurate, and that's the one I recommend you put in your policy, because it is the policy of this district not to admit. Okay. JH, student absences and excuses. And this one is very different, and I recommend the new policy is consistent with the new updated laws. I can't believe I first said.
That's okay. Yeah, no, it's okay. That's like funny.
I didn't want you.
The funny thing is I can read.
Sort of.
Oh, kind of.
Okay, I will send that to
I
you.
can read through it.
I'll send you another copy. I can't believe it. I didn't even know. But it's a sticky, obviously.
Yeah, clear.
Clearly.
And
Okay.
it's in color too in the online version. The fact that I think this is so funny, it's also ridiculous.
What happens is, tomorrow I'll come in and I'll work on these before I forget. And when you only have one meeting a month, it's a month ago.
Totally, totally. That's right.
No, it's funny how that our meetings are so long.
So JICA, student dress code, that is different because of the acts of 2022. I recommend that you change your policy.
Yep.
Student conduct. Okay. So we have a student conduct policy, JIC. And what the MASC is recommending is two huge policies.
Yeah.
Both of them were written this year based on court cases, I would imagine. So one is JIC, and the title of that is student discipline. And that's it. don't know why I put two copies of it. Oh, I know why. One was the pages were numbered, the other one is, and I said, like, you know, we're gonna use the one with the pages are numbered.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
We're done with the policy? No, we're not. Oh, just for today.
Just for
Yes,
today. Don't
Today.
get Gina too excited.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not even gonna ask how many there's more, how many more are left to go.
The thing says it all.
I know there were what, 100 to start with?
Let's put it this way. I am buying a round of beverages when we're done.
Okay, love it.
Well,
And we'll
we-
buy you around.
will it be
Is there any other committee business?
No.
Discussed, okay, so it feels strong.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are they both JICN?
They're being removed, so the discipline and the conduct.
But am I still recording it as JICA?
No, GIC.
Just JIC.
JICA student dress code was.
It's gonna be removed. We're
was,
getting rid of that.
was reviewed as a first reading.
Oh, the
And then
dress
also
code is different.
JICA,
Right.
student discipline, dress, are they,
It's on its own still.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
all right, I just wanna make sure I'm recording it
Oh,
correctly.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there's one JICA, which is the dress code, and then one JIC, which is discipline, which is new.
Okay,
And we're taking out the old JIC. I apologize.
oh, okay, just making sure.
So, that's cookies.
No, make sure.
We're taking, oh, okay, yeah. Yes, we have no other committee business, any announcements? No.
I have an announcement, Madam Chair. I received an email with a brand new set of policy revisions today from MASC.
You're kidding, right?
Yeah, today I got it. I didn't even open it.
Oh, my God, I would have just started screaming.
So I'll add that at the end.
Maybe they're ones that are replacing ones they already revised. that we
No,
haven't
it's the
read yet.
2023 revisions. I don't have those yet.
Hopefully we haven't already. Can I have?
I'd like to make a motion to end the meeting at 30 on the dot.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Good
Oh,
night.
wait,
Folks.
So it doesn't. Does anyone
3
have-
participants,
does
2
anyone have a
participants.
bus food short with a big bottle for me?